3 things can quietly take a serious bite out of a retirement somebody spent 40 years building. 2 of them most people could name right now without any help from me. The third one is not on anybody's list. Here is what all 3 have in common. Not one of them is a stock market crash. That is what catches people out. Ask around about what threatens retirement savings, and you will hear about a bad year in the markets. But the crash is loud, and historically you can wait it out. These 3 do not announce themselves at all. 2 of them work slowly, across decades. The last one arrives on a single ordinary day, and it is written into the tax code. By the end of this, you will know why the most quoted healthcare number in American retirement leaves out the single largest bill it could ever face. And you will know why the third threat can push somebody's tax bill up in a year their income went down. Let me take them in order. Start with the thing that makes all 3 worse, because on its own it is not a threat at all. People are living longer. That is good news, and I am not going to dress it up as a problem. But it changes the arithmetic underneath everything else. The Social Security Administration publishes the figures. A 65-year-old man today can expect roughly 17 more years. A woman, close to 20. Those are medians, so about half of people go past them. Around 1 in 4 people who reach 65 will see 90. Now run it for a couple instead of one person. For a 65-year-old couple, there is roughly a 53% chance that at least one of the 2 lives passed 90. Slightly better than a coin flip. Sit with that for a second. For more than half of couples retiring today, somebody in that household is looking at 25 more years. That is the frame for everything that follows. A threat that costs a little each year is a rounding error over 5 years. Over 25, it is a different animal, and a threat that lands on one surviving person is not a rare misfortune. Statistically, it is closer to the ordinary path. Now it gets interesting. Threat number 1 is inflation, and I can hear the shrug from here. Stay with me, because the interesting part is not the price of groceries. It is how the adjustment that is supposed to protect against it actually gets built. Social Security benefits go up most years. The Social Security Administration set the 2026 increase at 2.8%, but look at where that number comes from. The Social Security Administration calculates the raise from an index called CPI-W. Spelled out, that is the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. Read that phrase again slowly. It is the shopping basket of people who are working. Here is the part almost nobody knows. The Bureau of Labor Statistics already publishes a second index built for exactly this situation. It is called CPI-E, and the E stands for elderly. It tracks what Americans 62 and older actually spend money on, which puts far more weight on healthcare and on housing. So the measuring stick is the wrong basket, and the right basket exists and sits unused. The Senior Citizens League, an advocacy group that campaigns on this specific question, says the elderly index has run higher than the working index most of the last 25 years. That is the first crack. There is a second one, and it is arguably worse. The second crack is timing. That 2.8% raise for 2026 was calculated from price data that stops in September of 2025. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has the All Items Index up 3.4% over the 12 months through July of 2026, so the raise gets measured in 1 year and spent in the next one. It looks backwards by design, and then there is what comes out of it before it ever lands. The Social Security Administration puts the average retired worker's benefit at $2,071 a month in January 2026. Up from 2015. Call it $56 more a month. Over that same turn of the year, the standard Medicare Part B premium went from $185 to $202.90. That is $17.90, and for most people, it comes straight out of the Social Security check. So roughly a third of the raise was already spoken for by one line item. Before groceries. Before the electricity bill. The Senior Citizens League publishes a report on this every year. Their 2026 edition puts the loss at about 13.7% of buying power over the past decade. Their own way of saying it is about 86 cents on the dollar. One thing I want to be straight about, because this gets exaggerated constantly. Healthcare costs are not currently running away from everything else. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has medical care services up 2.9% over 12 months, which is below the 3.4% for everything combined. The problem is not that medicine is out of control this year. It is the lag, and it is the index. That is threat 1, slow, compounding, and over 25 years, slow is the dangerous kind. Threat number 2 is healthcare, and there is one number everybody quotes. Fidelity Investments has published a retiree healthcare estimate every year for a quarter of a century. The 2026 edition landed in July. Their figure is $185,500 for a single 65-year-old retiring this year. For a couple retiring together, $371,000. That is up 7.5% in a single year from $172,500. They break it down as well, which I appreciate. Just under half of it is Medicare cost sharing, so co-pays, co-insurance and deductibles. Another 45% is the premiums for Part B and Part D. Big number, quoted everywhere. Now here is the part that almost never travels with it. Fidelity say plainly in their own materials that the estimate does not include long-term care. It also leaves out most dental work and over-the-counter medication. Read that again. The most quoted healthcare number in American retirement excludes the single largest expense a retirement can run into. So look at what that missing piece costs on its own. CareScout, which is Genworth's care business, surveys providers across the country every year. In their 2025 survey, the median private room in a nursing home came to $355 a day. That works out at $129,575 a year. Assisted living came in at a median of $6,200 a month, which is $74,400 a year per year, not a total, which brings up the question everybody asks next. Does Medicare not cover that? The Department of Health and Human Services answers it directly through its research office, and the answer is no. Medicare does not cover long-term services and supports when that is the only care a person needs. The technical term is custodial care, and most nursing home care is custodial care. Fidelity found that 54% of people approaching retirement expect Medicare to cover all of their health costs, more than half. So how likely is any of it? The same research office has that figure. Their analysis says 56% of people turning 65 between 2021 and 2025 will need long-term services and supports at some point. 44% will need none at all. And about 1 in 5 people turning 65 today will run up long-term care costs above $200,000. That is the honest shape of it. Close to a coin flip whether it happens at all, and a 1 in 5 chance of a bill bigger than the entire famous estimate. That is the trade the number hides. Now the third one. This is the reason I made this video. Before writing it, I went and read the comments underneath the biggest videos on this subject. The people making them are qualified advisors who know their material, and their lists are all some version of the same 5 items. Taxes, longevity, a bad run of market returns, a major health event, inflation. Underneath one of them, the single most upvoted comment on the whole video asks for one more thing to be added: the loss of a spouse. Further down, somebody else spells out the mechanism in detail and asks whether there is a video covering it anywhere. Nobody answered him. So here it is. The third threat is what the rules do to whoever is left. Watch what happens on one single day. One person in a couple dies. Nothing about the money changes. The portfolio is the same portfolio, the house is the same house, and the required withdrawals from the retirement accounts are exactly the same size. 4 things change anyway. First, the household loses one social security check. The survivor keeps the larger of the two benefits, not both of them. The Social Security Administration puts the average for an aged couple, both drawing benefits at $3,208 a month for 2026. One of those two payments simply stops. Second, the tax filing status changes. Married filing jointly becomes single, generally starting the tax year after the death. That is where it turns sharp, because the tax code treats those two filers very differently. Take the Internal Revenue Service figures for 2026. A married couple who are both over 65 get a standard deduction of $35,500. A single filer over 65 gets $18,150, roughly half. Third, the brackets narrow by about the same proportion. In 2026, a single filer hits the 22% bracket above $50,400 of taxable income. A married couple filing jointly does not reach 22% until they are past $100,800. Fourth, Medicare again. There is an income-related surcharge on Part B and Part D premiums, and it goes by the name IRMAA. For 2026, the first tier starts at $109,000 for a single filer and $218,000 for a couple, exactly half. Put those four next to each other. The income went down, the deduction halved, the brackets compressed, and the Medicare surcharge line moved to half the income it used to sit at. People who work on this call it the survivor's penalty or the widow's penalty. It has a name because it happens often enough to need one. I am not going to hand over a single dollar figure for it because there is not an honest one to give. It depends entirely on the individual return. Published estimates put it anywhere from a few $1,000s a year into the low tens of thousands. Anybody quoting one precise number is guessing. So go back to that statistic from earlier. A 53% chance that one person in a 65-year-old couple lives past 90. That is what makes the third threat different from the other two. It is not a rare misfortune that lands on unlucky households. For more than half of couples, one of them ends up filing as a single person, and often for years. And notice what the third threat actually is. The first two are economics, prices move, care costs money, and those are facts about the world. The third one is not a fact about the world at all. It is a fact about the rulebook. Somebody chose those bracket widths and those thresholds, and the single filer numbers are simply what they are. So here is the whole thing in one breath. The inflation adjustment is measured against a working person's shopping basket and arrives a year late. The famous healthcare estimate leaves out the largest bill it could ever face. And the tax treatment of a surviving spouse tightens on exactly the day the household income drops. What ties them together is that they run on the same clock. Every one of them gets worse the longer somebody lives, which is the one part of this that nobody would ever want to trade away. Here is what I would genuinely like to know from you. Before today, had you ever seen that third one on a list of retirement risks? I keep finding the same 5 items in every single video. Tell me in the comments if you have seen anyone cover it properly, because I would like to watch that one myself.